pass, and I'm wondering, are these?
Designer bag.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, I don't.
So that's interesting. Good. So let's have another one.
Okay, for me, fake gestures.
Like.
Someone can be smiling at you
Politeness, so there's
politely,
fake,
and within
forceful politeness.
they are saying the opposite. I think I've faced that in most of the places I've worked. You could actually receive a sack letter with a smile.
Right.
But Nigerians, they will tell you. I hope you're all Nigerians. They will tell you
that.
I should chip into that. I can remember I had an interview once, and I forgot my jacket inside. So I stepped out naturally. Then I realized my jacket was in. So of course I can't go in. I had to knock. I just had an interview with these guys. We were chatting. It was okay. I knew what I was saying, so it was not a job I was hoping to get because it was something I had background experience on. So I thought we were fine. But immediately I realized I forgot my jacket. I wanted to go in. I could overhear them just making jest on me. That bad. Obviously, I knew I was not going to get the job, so I just knocked. Immediately, everything changed. They're going, oh, can we have that? I forgot my jacket. Oh, just moving. So it's also a UK thing, but it's not a UK thing. It's a UK white thing.
Well, I'm careful to mention him and to say whether it's white or whether it's an Asian or whatever.
White in terms of skin. Don't get it wrong.
Okay.
It's white in terms of mentality that you are not part of us. So why should I give you the regards I give people that are part of us? Another quick example, I'm sorry I'm taking time, is I can remember my first landlord. She's Canadian, but she assumed that because I came in from Nigeria. You're welcome. Please let them sit here. You're welcome, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You can bring it closer.
We have our pictures.
Yes, that's our baby.
Okay. So you can continue.
I can remember my first landlord in London. She was Canadian. So you expect that a Canadian will relate to an African girl. But the relationship was so bad that I can remember when we were leaving, we ended up taking ourselves to court. And I won.
Wow.
Yes, it was that bad. So it depends. So that's what I mean by the white superior mentality. They just feel since you are here, you just came, let's cheat you. You don't understand. You get like the same way an average Lagosian too will see somebody coming outside Lagos and they will tell you a Kony river. You need to understand Lagos. So it's a superiority thing. They know they don't have a choice, they have to be polite, but within them, it happens in office culture too. So you need to be smart.
Anyway, again, I'll be a bit careful about not about naming, about making conclusions around what people do and how they relate. It's an experience you had, and we can't take that away from you. So, but then again, maybe I'm wearing my research hat. And I'm just trying to be careful how I generalize based on the fact that I have. So it's a good experience, and we are not going to take that away. But one thing I know is that exclusion and racism is there, okay? But it's difficult for you to, it's just like hair. You can touch it, you can feel it, but it's difficult for you, it's very subtle. So it does then depend on what is your own definition of, and how sensitive you are to those things. But one thing I have understood is that you create the boundaries that you want around yourself, and when people cross that boundary, you let them know they've crossed the boundary, you know. And that's what I think is the best way to, and we have different boundaries. For some, they just open their gate wide, and then they allow people to do whatever they they like to them. But it's also very good for you to have boundaries. For instance, there are certain things that people will say to you that is crossing the boundary. There are certain adjectives that people will use that is crossing the boundary, and you let them know, no, I'm not going to take this because I think this is not right for me. So that's a good one. Any other culture plus shock?
I've seen the way they build their houses here. The wall, too small. The wall are thin. You can hear what your neighbor is doing. Early in the morning, I will set my own alarm. They already said that I'll be hearing different alarm from all.
Oh my goodness.
Even when I went to visit my cousin also, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. So it's like a general thing here, the way they build.
Wow, that's interesting. I've thought about it, but then it didn't come to me as direct as it. And when you said that, something again I remember is that where we come from, there is a lock, you know, behind the door, so you could have some level of privacy. But here, it appears that the doors don't have locks. So anyone can just come into your room unannounced, uninvited, you know, and gain entrance. So that's interesting. The rooms appears to be small, really, and the houses small, managed space. The same thing with their cars, very small cars all over the place. Any other? Yes.
Well, for me, yeah, I've listened to them. Some of the things they have mentioned actually was not a shock for me when I came in. For instance, the dressing, it was a shock for a lot of people that I know personally. But it wasn't a shock to me. Like,
Why?
it's just the way I was brought up. The environment.
Didn't believe.
Oh.
He's a bad person.
For me,
No, basically,
It was the way we were raised.
Okay.
My dad would literally go to the airport with just shorts.
Oh, I see.
Like, he's like, okay, you understand. Then he mentioned people not being exactly honest and being
Big smart.
pretentious and all of that. I have, to an extent, we have. That is not just it's a UK thing. It's also a human thing. You get. And he mentioned the houses, the tiny thing, the bathrooms are just ridiculous. Well, I think for me, there has been a couple. First of all, I know this is not a church meeting, but one of the biggest shocks, right, was church. You know, and up till now, I'm still trying to recover.
For me.
Yes,
So tell
that
me,
bad.
what happened?
The way I was used to worship in in Nigeria, I came here, and I felt like, okay, it's either I try to adjust or
Adapt,
I'm not
conform.
supposed to be here. Do you understand? And Envoy was like even in Envoy, do you understand? There are some times during, worship and prayer sessions, I'll be like, I'm doing too much. I have to open my eyes.
I see what other people are doing.
Do you understand? And I just think this is Envoy, how other churches like in terms of worship. I don't feel free enough to express myself during worship, during prayer. Because me, something I was saying to Samuel, I pray ugly. That's why I don't like people taking my pictures during prayer. I pray ugly so that I can have a beautiful life. Do you understand? So when I'm praying, I'm messy. My prayer is messy. Kata. I can be doing that 1 second. I can be jumping the next second. Do you understand? There is that freedom. There is that openness and vulnerability, and that's actually what the Holy Spirit responds to. That openness, that vulnerability in prayer, in place of worship, And here, I feel like I'm supposed to behave. Do you understand? UK generally, I feel like I'm supposed to behave. I'm supposed to compose. I'm supposed to be composed. I don't want that. Right? So that's something I'm still trying to adjust to.
Overcome.
There is also the community, okay, I'm going to first talk about the church community, Christian community, then talk about school community. Christian community in the sense that what I was used to is like believers just being closely knitted, and everybody's just on fire and everybody's just like, oh, what's up and all that, Here, it was like everybody's just, want to mind their business, it feels like you're butchering them and you feel very, very alone. And it's very dangerous because the devil always tries to take advantage of such situations. I have examples for days, right? The devil always tries to take advantage. There is strength in community, strength in unity. When you start saying, okay, you know what, I want to chill, we're doing too much, don't worry, 1 day is enough for fellowship, 2 days, I want to chill. You start alienating yourself, you start coming out, you start having really good reasons, and you start being on your own, and you get comfortable in that space, and it just becomes a habit, and from there it's just downhill. And when you as a person need motivation, as a Christian, we all come to a point where we need motivation, we need reasons, because you at that point you get, and you're seeing everybody else complacent, and you're like, what's the point?
Then you go with them.
What's the point?
It's not normal. Depression is now normal.
Yeah.
Like the first place I see that depression.
I have never. In Nigeria, I have actually, I know people that came before they came to the UK, in Nigeria, these people were tough. They were very tough. Not even just spiritual, I mean mentally. Like, these people are no nonsense. No matter the challenges they hustle, even if they are broke and financial challenges, they will push through because they have this we move mentality. You come to the UK will look at you, say you move, UK will say what? Excuse me now. Do you understand? As in,
are you capturing these things?
Where the Bible says, the wind came contrary. That UK just gives a perfect example of the wind coming contrary in terms of work. In terms of work, in terms of. Okay. Another person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So let's. Okay.
About racism.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, please. No, I might not even do it. I will stand. I can stand. Don't worry, I'll stand.
I went to my neighbor, unfortunately, they would give her the job while they would just get back to you. Like 5 times it was happening. I was so down, like, this is happening to me. What is happening? Later I discover it's all about maybe my color.
And then you are getting used to it.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it.
Thank you very much. Let me just address people that are just coming in. Thank you. Although you came a bit late, but what we're trying to do is, before we go into the session, we're just having an appraiser of what our individual experiences has been in the UK. And we sum everything up into what we call culture plus shock. So there are things that when you enter into this environment, you just felt, wow, what's happening here? Wait a minute. It looks like this is different. And it's really been insightful hearing from people on this seat. We've talked about a bit of racism. We've talked about dressing, school children or school children, how they dress. We've talked about the way their houses look like. We've talked about the fact that people, when they come in here, the community is more like set up for you to be on your own. The togetherness is not there. Even in the church, People seem to be careful how they do things and all that. So that's what we're talking about. So that I'm just going to try to bring you to speed about where we are. And so we also want to have your feedback. So when you enter into this town, and up till now, what are the shocks that you experience? I know you must have experienced one or two.
It's all they've discussed sums it up. It's basically the same.
The same? Okay, great. Yeah?
I think my own major shock is this culture of smoking. Because where I was coming from, it's very rare because in Africa, you just see it, okay, bad people smoke in Africa. But here...
Good people smoke. Everybody smoke. Let's have one house.
He is like a pastor. The weather here, the weather here is
it's cold.
It's cold. That he has to smoke and all that. So that's one of the major shocks to me.
But interesting thing is that you still see some of them smoke inside sun. You know. So that's interesting. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, my brother, you want to say something? What is the shock? The same thing. Okay. Another one that I experienced, maybe I just say one or two, is when I started driving. You know, the right and left hand thing. That thing did me plenty things. You know, I'll go to mall or go to drop the kids, and before I know it, I'm sitting at the passenger seat. You know, I did it several times. And for not embarrassing myself, I actually opened the door before I remember that I'm not supposed to be at this side. But I will open and I will sit down for maybe like 1 minute so that people will not think, what is wrong with this guy? You know, and the way you drive, to the fact that you don't just honk anyhow. You know, in where I come from, you just press that. Sometimes you are even singing and you are using it to, you know, together with the rhythm of your music. All right, so why do we have to do this? I just feel that not as much as this conversation is supposed to be very informal, we've come a long way, and so we should appreciate how far we've come. We should appreciate the differences that we have seen. But before we go ahead, I just feel like it's important to know how we feel today. So, this is, in one word, how are you feeling this afternoon? Despite everything that we've talked about, despite, you know, what the situation is, how are you feeling today? And to do that, I don't know if you can go to that side, and then you just, in one word, just say how you feel, so that we'll see how everyone here is feeling. Can we do that quickly? So we could scan that, and then you just put it there in one word. What that?
Yeah, I think they forgot to mention one shock.
We'll get to the shock later. So can we do that quickly? Fireside Q1. Sorry. no one is put anything there. Oh, feeling very sleepy. I mean right now. Yes. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what you're saying. Oh, very sleepy. Amazing. Oh, okay, so I should take it back. So you just do BLT.ly, then Fireside Q1. So let me take it away so that you can see it. Yeah, and then we could just do this, and then I could do this so that you could, oh no. Okay, so let's see, somebody is feeling sleepy, so what are we going to do now?
The person should stand up.
Oh, this is lovely. So we've got a lot. Oh, but I'm happy. Oh, someone is hungry. Relaxed. He's still hibernating. Who is hibernating? I feel good, but generally lonely. Oh. Who is lonely? I feel like giving the person a hug. So, your own is not there yet? Oh. Anyway, I think this is amazing. So we could. I'm happy that our feelings. I mean, we're not. It's a good afternoon, as we can see. So it's still good, even if you're feeling a bit sleepy or feeling lonely. I think coming together today is also to address some of work-life balance, if you ask me, so that we don't have a time together to have some interesting conversation. But before we go into that, I think it's important to just tell you a little bit about myself, so that you appreciate that I also share some attributes, perhaps with a number of you. So I started my career 2007 as a software developer in Nigeria, Lagos. It's one IT firm in VI. And then a year later, I moved into the bank. That's Bank PHP precisely. And then I worked there for a number of years. And then I left there to First Bank and then to Union Bank. Wow. But within that time, I had my second degree in computer science informatics at Blekinge Institute of Technology, Sweden. And that was done online. But then you wouldn't know. It looks like everything that is happening now looks like those guys have seen it before. Yeah. That was the first time I had my graduation online. And that was the best graduation I've ever had, honestly, till date. Even my physical graduation as a PhD holder wasn't as good as what we had online. And then there was no COVID. That was 2012 or thereabout. Beautiful music. Everything looks good, you know. And I'm still in touch with the professor that taught me then in Sweden, you know. Now, after 2012, I had my MBA, still working at the bank, MBA, Information Technology. Now, it's a university in Canada. They call it Commonwealth University or something. But then they did it in conjunction with National Open University of Nigeria. So I had that too within 2 years. At some point, I had some personal challenges that made me drop out at some point, and then came back to complete that. Then 2015, I enrolled for a PhD, still working in the bank, and that was at University of South Africa. And UNISA, thank you. So for UNISA, it looks online, but it's really not online because I had to visit UNISA So I visited like twice a year at least, and then I attended a number of conferences all over the world because it was meant to be a PhD by research. And my focus was more on ICT, small businesses, and all that. Now, after my PhD in 2019, April, 1st of April precisely, I graduated, and then around September, October 2019, I got a job in the UK from Nigeria. And that was my first interview. So after graduation, I started pushing CVs all over the place, and then just to see what academic looks like. I've always wanted to work within the academic sphere somehow, and I just feel I have a calling around there, and I felt that I have some impact to make, you know, within the academic sphere. So for me, it's really not about the money. I just find fulfillment doing that. Although I love money part too. So I'm not going to take away the fact that I don't like money. I love money too. You know, so 2019, December, I moved into UK. You know, just like everyone else, I also had my shares of some of the shocks that you have talked about, integrating, moving from banking, ICT into teaching, you know, meeting different people that you've never met before, the environment, the bureaucracy, you know, all that, so many things to deal with. And I was here alone too, perhaps as some of you came in alone before your family joined you. So my family joined me 2020 March. In fact, that was the last flight from Nigeria during COVID. Yeah, before the lockdown. That was, yeah. Yeah, because I already paid for 3-bedroom apartment. I've moved in there. I was meant to go and pick them in April, but had to change the flight 3 times. Each time was 250K. Wow. So that was additional 750K on the tickets I bought for God knows how much. But the good thing is they were able to come in, interestingly. And I'm over 30 months in a new career, in a new land. And well, I found it interesting. And have met with students, have interacted with people, and I felt that this kind of conversation that we're going to have today is not something that is common, but yet it's something that is needed. You know, not because of anything, not because we don't have things that are important that we should be doing at this time, okay? But this kind of conversation, you may not be able to adequately quantify it in terms of monetary resources, you know. A number of people will be like, oh, 1 hour is 10 pounds or 15 pounds or something. And so you just calculate the 3 hours, and you're like, wow, that's 30 pounds or 40 pounds wasting now, you know. But the smile, the interaction, sometimes it's really much more than 30 pounds. And you know the information that you're going to get here today might save you at the end of the day thousands of pounds. I mean, it might even save somebody from losing his visa or going back to square one or where you're coming from. So that is a bit of my background. I've also worked with students. I've seen things that students do that I feel like, what's going on here? You should know better. This should not even have happened in the first instance. You shouldn't be sweating over this kind of thing if you have the right information and the right, but the thing is, you don't get most of those information easily, all right? But before I continue, I need to make a caveat. And the caveat is that everything I'm going to say, everything I'm going to present, they are my personal opinion, okay? They do not represent the opinion of organizations I have worked for or I'm working for currently. So is that okay? Do we agree on that? Yeah. All right, so that is it. Now we're going to move on and we'll talk about us. So I've talked about me, and then you talk about yourself now. Pretty much what we're going to do, talking about ourselves, I love that we pair up, but that's fine. What you just need to do is tell us your name, tell us what you do, and tell us when you arrived UK. Your name, what you do. So for instance, my name is Dr Owoseni. You call me Debo. Some people, I think the English people like to call me Adi more. I think that's easy for them. And then you have different versions of Adi, you know. So, but whichever way they want to call it, that's fine. So my name is Dr Owoseni. I prefer to be called Debo, but you can call me Adi, you can call me Adibo Ali, you can call me Wali, whatever. But then that's it. So tell us what your name is. Tell us what you do. I'm a lecturer, and then I came into UK December 2019.
Okay, so I'll be the second person. My name is Demola. The UK people, I insist they call me Ademola, and so they say Ademola. I've been in the UK since 2018. Yeah. 2018.
Very.
Prior to my, when I came in from banking, so I worked in the financial services. Then I switched. Good afternoon, you're welcome. Please make yourself comfortable.
Okay.
So, I used to work in financial services back in Nigeria, so it was just natural for me to switch. I think part of what we said about the culture shock is you shouldn't be fixated in what you think is working in Nigeria might not necessarily be the same expression here. So financial services, what we think as a Nigerian is majorly banking. So the pursuit was getting to a bank, But eventually when we sat down and looked at it, in so many aggregates a bank has. So eventually I got into, because I was in the international business center, so I got into basically, let's keep it like that for now. So,
thank you. So Hilton, and then we'll go clockwise. Is that clockwise or anti-clockwise? I don't know, but then we shall do clock somehow. So Hilton, your name, what you do when you arrive UK?
Okay, my name is Oladipo Hilton. People like calling me Hilton, but my name is actually Dipo.
Hmm.
Then I didn't bother to even tell them I'm Oladipo. I said, what's the name? Hilton.
It's easier.
It's very easy. So then, okay, so before coming here, I was into social media management. Then I've always had a passion for data analytics. I took some courses already for COVID. So then coming here, culture shock for me was, I think, okay, when the weather started, well, probably I think it's part of culture, the daylight thing. It really got to me, it really got to me, like
10 o'clock, it's still looking like 5.
I had to shut my window, like, to really sleep, like, keep shutting my window. So then I think it was actually hard for me to relate with white people. Like, anytime I'm in an environment, I just tend to want to talk to the black guys. So like, who is black here? Please, it wasn't easy to like approach them, and not like I was afraid of them. If I actually had a reason to, maybe I had a genuine reason to, I would approach them and talk to them. But like, I don't exactly. How should I start the conversation? What should I tell you? Like, so that part. So, and like, for me, I kind of challenged myself. So I started going to some Christian Union stuff on campus, and basically, I think I only met one other black guy there. So it was a little bit. So the only time I found myself talking was when we were in a group discussion, and there was something to talk about. But like sometimes when we were even discussing, I was like, what are you talking about? It felt that way, but to some extent, I got to understand
some things, although I won't say I'm fully integrated into their system, but it's helping me to kind of understand the system a little bit more better. So far, it's great. When I came in February, actually February 5. Yeah.
2022.
2022.
Oh, you are still very new. You are still very new. You're welcome. So let's just stick with that because of time. Name what you do and when you arrive UK, because we still have a lot to do and we started a bit late. So let's just do that. Pam, pam, pam. 1 minute.
My name is Oluwatobi.
Oluwatobi.
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer, civil contractor. So I arrived in UK February this year.
Good. Thank you very much, Oluwatobi.
Yeah, my name is Bolaji, but I prefer to be called BJ. But most people don't like me calling me BJ, but I don't know the reason why.
Maybe you do, but you don't want to say.
But I like to be called BJ anyway.
Okay, BJ.
I was into hotel business for coming to this UK.
But now you're a student.
Yeah.
You're also a student. Oh, great. Yes, sir. When did you arrive UK?
2020.
2020. Oh, you are old already.
My name is Ademola Okeowo. I'm a student and I arrived same day, 25th of March, so 3 months today.
Wow. That's great. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Omishola Omukule, and I was a business manager in the printing firm before I came here. Then I came with my wife. So presently, I'm still working towards doing that here, but I work with DPD.
Okay.
At the moment.
You came here. It's a double clap. Thank you. God bless you. So let's move to this table. Let's start with you, man. Morning. It's afternoon already.
I'm Taiwo Olabi. I came in April. I'm into business, selling and buying.
But you're now a student. Importer, exporter, general merchandise. Okay, great. Yes.
My name is Morayo, and I'm a student. I came here September last year.
Last year. Wow, it's almost a year. Assistant landlady.
My name is Obehi, and my friends call me Obehi. I came in January this year. And
Really?
yeah.
Wow, it looks like
She's been here for
wow. January this year, and I'm currently working in hospitality. Okay, in Nigeria I was in oil and gas. Here I'm in hospitality and care.
Oh, great.
You can be
Okay.
I said there's somebody that used to work in oil and gas here too. The person is looking at me.
Yeah, my name
Okay.
is Wala Rewaju.
Sure.
Where I work, they usually call me Sean.
Sean, yeah, that's the idea.
I'm also a student. I came in last year.
Okay.
September. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Okay, my name is Samuel.
Samuel Wani. Your friends call you Sammy.
So what you
I came in February, and I worked in an insurance company in
Before.
Nigeria. Yeah.
Oh,
What
here.
I do here? Everything.
Fine to do.
You're still going to focus on that.
Okay, great. So you do everything. Yeah, good. Situation permits that you do everything now. Okay.
Okay, my name.
Yes, you're a student.
My name is Adiola Adedigba. I came in March this year. I worked with Sterling Bank PLC before coming here as a user experience designer. And then since I came in, I've not really worked, but I think I had a very, very terrible experience. I'm not recovered yet.
That's a culture shock.
And I'm a student.
So you tell us about your experience some other time. Okay.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is
What do I do? I'm a student.
Yeah, you came in.
I was a student. I came here as
A student?
Okay.
When?
What can I do?
When did you arrive?
I arrived in March.
This year.
This year?
Wow.
Oh, interesting. So you're still
And I'm still
fresh?
I'm not working.
You are a work in progress. No, let's ask her to.
I think our husband introduced that.
No. He introduced himself. So she should introduce herself. All right, we're listening.
Adenike Olushola. My friends call me Nike Nike.
Okay, great.
I'm a student, and this is my work.
I love that. That's one of the best work you can do. Thank you. All right, ma'am. Don't worry. I know you just came in, but that's fine. So your name, what you do when you arrive UK?
Yeah, that's Olulope.
Good.
A student.
Good.
March.
March this year. Great. Great. Yes, ma'am. March. Wow. Yes, sir.
My name is Ivan.
Great. to reboot. Wow. Okay, great. Wow. I love that. So we're colleagues somehow. That's obvious. Mr., Mrs., and Miss and Master. Yes, sir. Yes. Johnson, wow.
Student came in February.
Great.
Back in Nigeria, I used to work with a teacher.
Wow.
Lovely.
That's great. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Oluwadara Odukomaya. Most people call me D.
Hmm.
I am the wife of a student. Never let me get the end of it. I brought you fashion designer.
Oh, great.
She sold my wife's
Wedding outfit.
wedding
Yeah.
outfit.
Wow, that's great. So we are connecting somehow.
And I've been doing that from Nigeria for over 5 years.
And she's
Wow.
business here.
Yes, please. I've been so funny.
Good, SMEs. Good. And that's a good space to be. We can talk about that later. You know, we'll still do maybe some fireside chat around business, small businesses, opportunities, and all that. Yes, ma'am.
Hello everyone, I'm Amos Saiki. I'm a lawyer.
Great. You look lawyerish. Great.
Private student at the Monfort University. I arrived UK February 17th of
Great.
this year.
Great. You're welcome. Okay, that's fine. And finally, my sister.
Hello everyone, my name is Agnes. I'm called Agnes. I'm a student of DMU. I arrived UK last year, September. I'm doing a part-time job for healthcare.
Okay.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. And finally, may you introduce yourself, sir?
Bishop Mr.
So this is what we're doing. Just your name, what to do, and when you arrive UK. So we need to move fast now.
We move fast because we have a lot of people, so there are some things we need to skip.
Yeah, no problem. NHS England. NHS England.
I'm a chartered accountant. I arrived in the UK October last year. That's
almost a year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we're going to skip this because we'll deal with it at the end. It's part of the feedback form. What 3 topics would you like us to discuss? I just thought we could take that so that we'll use that to plan for what we're going to do next. But let's skip this. All right, so this is supposed to be the outline and the program, but because we started late, you just add 30 minutes to what we currently have. So now we've done the welcome path, we've done the intro, the culture and shock, and now we're going to the student project. So in a way, we are behind by, say, 15 minutes or thereabout, but we're going to try to catch up. Okay, so after this, we're going to have lunch. The lunch is being served already. And then we'll look at plagiarism, how to avoid academic offense. We looked at general question and answers, and then feedback and closing. Oh, sorry. So, student projects. What are the tricks and the tips? So where do I start? You know that what projects used to look like, or studying used to look like in Nigeria or in Africa is not the same here. How many agree with me? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So it's totally different. But I want to tell you that you have more advantage, you have better advantage, even with this system. But what is important is that you understand how to navigate, okay? And I think it's just about information. Now, when we talk about projects, and I'm talking about final year projects now, whether you are undergraduate or you're postgraduate, I'm not talking about PhDs right now. Although there is a bit of PhD you could pick from here, but I'm not focusing on PhD because that's a bit advanced. But if you want questions around PhD, why not? I can answer those questions relating to PhD. So, it is difficult for us to talk about projects in 40 minutes. But I'll try my best to take you through what you need to know. And this, again, is a conversation. So don't think about it as me presenting, okay? So if you have any question or you think you need some clarification, please just interrupt, interject, whatever the English is. Just stop me and ask. It's important because most of the time, do more or to even, have maybe a first class or something if you do well in this project. And it's really not difficult, trust me. And that's what we're going to talk about. So, final year, it's finally time for my final year project. Where do I start from? And I think I see that anxiety in students when they say, okay, now it's time for your project. And people will be like, oh, what do we do now? Where do we start from? Now, it's expected because even where we are coming from, or where most of us are coming from, final year project is something that, we usually read to pass, okay? But here, you do things to pass, okay? Now, and the project is not an exception. And sometimes, it's funny, but I just need to say it the way it is. 80% of people contract their project to people to do for them, or they go online to download something, okay? Or they copy something and paste, and then they end up, they just go away with it. But if you copy and paste here, you likely will not go away with it. Almost, that you're not going to go away with it. So the anxiety that comes with the fact that you are now at the position or a place where you need to think about your project is real. So the question is, where do you start from? And these are just a few tips that I want to give. The first thing is you need to take responsibility. Take charge. You need to know that this is my project. It's not my supervisor's project. It's not my friend's project. It is my project. As a matter of fact, in this place, you can tell your supervisor, this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to do it. It's not advisable, but I'm just saying that students have that autonomy, all right? So, and if you are very, very sensitive, you see that there are ways when they write mails, even when you ask them about stuff, they make sure that they reference supervising project, not supervising you. You can go back to your mails and conversations. You'll find out that it's about supervising your project and not supervising. So it's really not about you, it's about the project. That means that you need to take personal responsibility for your project. Now, where does that start from? It's coming to the reality that this is my work and I am responsible for this work. Okay? Now, the next thing is, when you take responsibility, then you can begin to identify problem areas that interest you. Now, we are used to a situation where it's time for your project, and you just walk up to somebody and say, give me topic. Or you say, how many topics do we have there? Let me look at it, and let me pick one. You really don't know what the topic looks like. You don't know what is in there, and you just collect topic, and then you go and give it to somebody to do for you or to explain to you. No. So the best, I think going through projects should be exciting, should be interesting, if you're going to come out with something interesting at the end of the day. And it starts from taking ownership. So when you take ownership, then you look at, what is the problem around here that I can solve? What is the problem here? Okay, so project is about solving problems, identifying problems, and solving those problems. And there are problems all over, okay? Problem, permit me to use teaching, no they finish. Problem will always be there. In fact, solving problems creates another problem most of the time, all right? So you identify the problem, and please, let that problem area be things that interest you. And it could be very fuzzy at first. So when I say fuzzy, it means it may not be very clear. It might really look so archaic, it might look unauthentic, it might look like you don't know what you're doing. No. It might look like it's not visible. No. All right? It's just identifying that area, okay? And then you write it down. Now, the top thing I would like to say is that you need to seek to know how to make 3 commandments of research work for you. And this is just me. It's not as if I read it somewhere. And what I call the 3 commandments of research work is that thou shalt read, thou shalt write, and thou shalt reflect. Thou shalt read, thou shalt write, and thou shalt reflect. Thou shalt not reflect before reading, and thou shalt not write before reading. Does it make sense? Yeah. What I see is that a lot of people want to write before reading, and a lot of people don't even reflect at all. And when I engage you, or when your supervisor engages you, and you have not reflected, it's obvious. Because there is nothing original from writing. Something original comes when you reflect. And what is reflection? It's not difficult. Most of us reflect every day, okay? You reflect on how to make more money, right? You reflect on how to change your visa routes. You reflect. So you reflect. It's just that you are not channeling it into the right area. All right? So we'll talk about that reflecting. But then please note this thing. Even if you are not getting anything today, note these three things. There are rules. Thou shalt read, thou shalt write, and thou shalt reflect. Okay? So we'll look at that in details as we move on. But the good thing is that in this place, unlike where most of us come from, you have resources that will help you. Okay? Many times, okay, maybe I should not say this, but I can say it. When I was in Nigeria, we don't have access to library, facilities. You have to go there and do photocopy on photocopy on photocopy on photocopy, and they are old and... But even when you go online, there are things that you can't download because you are from Nigeria. Access is just going to be naturally denied. But you are here, and your school username and password can take you to places. All you need to do is know how to get into those library resources and fetch your resources. So you've got that resources. You've got them. All right? And these are the things I just felt that you need to know when it's about time for your research project. Okay? So let's move on. What are the generic... If you have questions, please stop me and ask, please. Okay? So what are generic steps to good research projects? And I'm just going to take this one after the other. Again, I'll be careful to say that these are cast in stone, okay? Like, if I need to move from here to that door now, all right? I can decide to pass through this table, climb this table, I can go whichever way, all right? It's usually not straightforward, okay? But I could just give a description of how I can move from here to that table, to that door. And that's what I want to do. Are we together? It looks like I'm being distracted a bit. But if you are not with me, I feel you are not with me. Please let me know if you are with me. Thank you. Thank you. So the first thing you do is you identify a research problem, just as I've said. Identify your research problem. What is the problem you want to solve? Now, it's good that you select one, maybe one or two, so that you just have an option, okay? And then you frame your research topic. So when you have that problem area, then you can frame your research topic. What does it mean to frame your research topic? Framing means, and we're going to do an example just now. Framing means that you want to cut off the areas that are not important. You have a generic idea, and you want to frame your topic in a way that you are able to reflect what I call the variables, okay, or the constructs, all right, within that research topic. If you give me a research topic now, I can look at it and say that this topic is going nowhere, okay, because of the way you have framed that topic, all right? And when you look at the topic, there are things that the lecturer or the examiner is already looking out for to see in your report, just based on that topic. All right? But you may not know how to get this. So that's about the framing, and we're going to talk about it in a moment. Again, that's about identifying the variables. So it looks like I've even moved faster than the presentation. Now, when you identify your variables, you frame your research topic. Again, framing research topic means that you frame your research questions. Say, for instance, you have a few research questions you want to ask. So the research questions are questions that you want to answer at the end of your research, okay? They are hypotheses or objectives you want to meet at the end of the day. You know, a lot of time when we're being taught in class in here in the UK, people come with these are lesson objectives. They list them. If somebody is teaching you and they are not listing the lesson objectives, then I'm not sure he's here in the UK, okay? So they will list the objectives. And at the end of the class or the module, that objectives must be met. As a matter of fact, your assessment is testing those objectives. You understand? The same way is your project. So, but the good thing is that you are the one that set the objective. Okay? For the project, you are the one that set the research question. So, you're actually working to an answer, in a way. Because you set those objectives, you set those questions, all right? And you need to answer those questions at some point at the end of your research, okay? So the next thing is now create an outline. Outline is more like a journey, a narrative of how do I now answer this question, okay? After choosing an approach. So an approach here is more like a methodology, okay? Methodology is like, all right, so how do I collect data? Who are the people that I need to approach? Am I going to design something? Am I going to do a survey? Am I going to do a questionnaire? Am I going to collect pictures from somewhere? Am I going to do a desk research, like I will search and pull information from secondary data and analyze them or something? What is your approach? How do you want to get there? And then putting them in form of an outline is important. It's also important for you to know that, your literature should draw from, one, your research topic, okay? Because your research topic will reflect your variables, okay? And should also reflect your research questions. I don't know, let me see if I can write. So you have your topic. You have your topic. Okay. From this topic, you draw your objectives. Objectives. From these objectives, you draw your questions. Okay. Now, most of the time, your objectives are more like stepwise things that you are going to do to achieve whatever, just to answer this question most of the time. They are like stepwise stuff that you're going to do to answer this question. But they are usually not very clear. Okay? So you have your question. All right? Now, note again that this, your topic, will already reflect some variables. Okay? Now, these variables will also reflect in your question. I hope I'm not confusing you. Eh? I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to use, I hope somebody here is working on a research or you have an idea. So I'll just pick up that idea and I will use it as a case, okay? Now, this objective and this question, okay, these three things reflect your literature. All right? And usually, this your objective will reflect your method or the approach you want to use. Your approach embedded in this method is the way you analyze, how you want to analyze your data, collect your data, and what have you. And then finally, you have your report, reflection, and what have you. So everything here seems to be linked together. Now, where students usually fall into trap is when they don't understand where to start, they don't even know what to do. Okay? And when these things are disjointed, you're supposed to be writing a story or a narrative. So when there is a break, it's easy for examiners to know that something is breaking here. All right? Now, your literature review, which I think is the most difficult part of writing your project. Trust me, I think so. Because literature is creating a foundation where you want to stand on. Doing things that are not your own, picking from different places, all right? And that is where you are also very, the risk of plagiarism is very high. right? Because you can copy and you don't rephrase it very well. You copy, you put it in one paraphrasing tool online, and the thing just changed words to is, and added ed at the back of something, and just copy it. No, it has changed, and you pasted it in the thing, and you submit, and you say, hey, it's 100% similarity index. Okay, so that's the literature part. We're also going to come to the plagiarism thing. And then your data collection. Data collection doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to field. There are different ways of collecting data, depending on what you want to do. It's a whole lot, but it shouldn't be difficult. And then the last one is reflecting and having, oh, thank you, reflecting and then reporting and, conclusion and what have you, okay? But in doing this, there are certain things that are important. You see that from number 1 to 7, you are reading. And a lot of people don't want to read. If you don't read, you won't have inspiration. If you don't read, you won't see how you can do things. Because when you read, you can borrow methodology, you can borrow approach, you can borrow way people solve similar problems. There are no problem you want to solve that someone hasn't solved something like that before. All you need to do is just adapt it in a way. In fact, once you find a paper, maybe a 15-page paper that looks like what you want to do, change those variables, change the context. Maybe they did that research in Botswana, you do your own in Nigeria. Everything remains the same. It's just that the context has changed. And what you write will be different. And if you find the same answer, then you can go back and even reference those people that, oh, everything that is happening in Botswana is happening also in Nigeria, which is good for you. So you do a lot of reading. Then you do a bit of writing. You see the overlap there. And then reflecting. So there are bits where you write, you reflect, and then in your reflecting, you also read. Please, this looks abstract, or it's sounding abstract to me. It's not? Okay, thank you very much. So, but there's another type of research which is about designing something. So it's not all research that you have to write and write. Some you might have to do experiment or design a web application, design something like an artifact, okay? The computing people will understand me better, all right, where you have to create something, okay? So in doing that, you may not necessarily need to identify any variable, okay? You may not need to do a lot of literature review. All you are going to be doing there is capturing your requirements and coming up with your design, the diagrams, and what have you, okay? And then your data collection, you really don't have to collect any data. Perhaps what you will do there is do some testing and evaluation of the artifact that you have designed. And then finally, you will still have to reflect on what you have done. Okay. Now, let's go to the next thing. When you look at this, project actually is a journey. Now, you see I've got different tiles there, and these tiles represent different activities that you do. So when we start projects, we usually think that it's a straightforward journey. You just dash from knowing what you feel like or not knowing what you want to do into completing the thing, all right? Submission. From your research topic to your submission. And then you just pick whatever crosses this line. So you do objective, you do part of question, you do mix, you test, So it's usually not like that. Okay? Now, this is the reality. How does it look? So in reality, it means that you need to know what you're doing, which then takes us back to the fact that you need to take responsibility. Now, this might really look interesting, but it's not difficult, please. It's not. And let's go through it, okay? So let's assume you want to do your research, you already have a problem area, you have your topic, and then you have your objectives, okay? Now, setting up your objectives, you need to think, are there any ethical implications? Do I need to seek ethical clearance and what have you? Then you have your question, research question. From your research question, you have your literature. From your literature, you have your field data. From your field data, you have your analysis. Then you have your report. Now, in your literature, remember, you might want to dwell on certain framework. You might want to look at certain theoretical perspective, okay? You might want to look at some form of philosophy. I'm going a little bit detail into, I'm sure you understand me. Okay. You know, for the PhD people here, they will understand. All right? In terms of field data, your hypothesis might mean that you want to do some lab experiment. And then from lab experiment, you come back to your field data, then you do your analysis, then you do your report. In writing your report, when you reflect on your report, okay, then it takes you back to conclusion. That your report can also look at limitation of the report, finding a way to meet those limitations through future research, okay? And then, so those things have a way they connect. And you need to understand. So it's not a one-way thing. It's about how you tell your story, okay? And it's not very difficult. I really feel like I should do a bit of a sample so that it's not going to look like I'm just speaking gibberish. So does anyone have this kind of problem where you have a research topic? Do you have any research topic here? And then we can quickly formulate questions, look at the variables in the research topic, formulate what it should look like, what's your possible methods that you can use, your approach, and you have something.
So let me just come up with something. Challenges of big businesses in the UK. Let's narrow it down.
Okay. So, challenges of
BIM businesses, that's black minority.
Yes, I know. BIM
businesses.
Biz in the UK.
Narrow it down to East Midland, maybe.
Now, so this to me is floating. You understand? So you have obviously you have a research area, but it's just floating. I really don't know what is challenge? What is new about challenges? So if I know the challenges, what else?
Challenges and way forward.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so challenges of them, that's fine, you can.
The concept of it being a challenge is too broad.
Thank you.
I want to look at an issue that might affect BIM businesses in the UK, specifically maybe racial disparity or racism as an influence on BIM businesses in the UK.
Thank you. Now, the thing here is that this looks like this, okay, to me is a noun, in a way, okay? But why can't we add some form of adjective in it? Okay, so that it's going to be like you are doing something, you are carrying out an action, okay? So what do? We could say that exploring the challenges of BIM businesses in the UK, all right? So already this is telling me that what you're doing is an exploration. You don't even have an idea of what that space looks like, but you know that there are challenges, but you want to explore what those challenges are. So this looks more like a great topic, okay? But then the concept of UK is also broad. So you might now want to bring it down to say BIM businesses in East Midland, UK. East Midland is even too broad. Bring it down to Leicester. Okay? Okay, so what you have done essentially, let's now look at the new topic now. Okay, exploring the challenges of BIM, let's just say SMEs, because businesses again is broad. Okay, BIM SMEs in Leicester. Okay, so looking at this now, what are the variables that we have here? Or what are the constructs that we are able to pull out from here now? All right? Where is my other pen? Sorry. I want to have a red pen or a green pen. I just don't. Oh, I didn't know that's there. All right, so what I can see here is BIM, SMEs. Okay, Leicester is more like, so we have what we call your dependent variables and independent variables, you know. So this is more like an independent variable, it's just there. So it's just floating. This just gives it a concept, okay? So, and this is good because at master's level, the variables that you are looking at should really not be more than 2, so that you won't break your head. Okay, but at the level of PhD, you should, in fact, if you bring this out at PhD, this is not a PhD thesis, because the variables here are just 2. You should have at least 3 variables. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 now. Now, this now takes us to objectives, okay? Or let me even say, before you move to your objective, try to talk about your research question. So you have exploring the challenges of BIM SMEs in Leicester, right? So I might want to ask, what are the challenges? Thank you. So what are the challenges? Are the challenges of BIM SMEs in Leicester? Okay. You might want to have a second one to say, how are the challenges, all right, being addressed? So you need to be careful. This again is delimited, because when you say how are the challenges being addressed, which challenge? Challenge where? So you need to write a complete sentence. So how are the challenges of SMEs in Leicester being addressed? Okay, you need to complete it. Now, please don't do more than 2 questions. In fact, 1 question is okay. You have 3 months for this research. You don't have forever. See, what is being tested or evaluated is not how big your research is. Okay? What is being evaluated really, is the concept of creating a problem, all right? Yeah. Identifying approach to solving the problem, okay, the problem, and your outcome. Does this outcome, okay, answer this problem? Finish. And you can demonstrate this using only 1 research question. So you don't have to break your neck. The same thing goes for design projects. So in design projects, you can just say development and design of something. Finish. That's all. And then you can put the step to design it. So we talked about this now. Now, how will this link you to your literature? So how should your literature look like? Now, your literature will look like, starting generally, so you can start to talk generally about, if I were you, I will start by talking about BIM. What is BIM? Who are they? Within a larger context, and then bringing them to the context of Leicester. How many are they? What constitutes them? What have they been doing before? And all that. Okay? So when you are done with that, then you look at the SMEs. So concept of SMEs. How do you define SME in the UK? You know, because your definition of SME in the UK is different from the definition of FME in Africa, it's different from in Canada, it's different in US. So you need to contextualize that. All right? And provide a brief overview of Leicester, because just imagine somebody is reading that thing and doesn't even know where Leicester is or what Leicester is about. All right? And then you just begin to talk about, so when you, and then the idea is, how do you now search? All you need to do is go to your library resources and use these keywords, plus them, you know, to search. So you go to a place like Scopus, for instance, and you just type in SME and BIM. Okay? And you can even add and UK, so that you have a bigger context. And then you can bring it down to and Leicester. You will see materials that speak to these things that you can write on. So it's not very difficult, does it? Does it look difficult? Okay. Now, because you have your variables, okay, you now go to think about, I'm just using this as an example, so that we'll look at how this journey that looks very complicated, okay, that is really not complicated at the end of the day. So we've identified our research question, right? So the research question we've got to, what are the challenges of BIM in Leicester? How are the challenges being addressed, okay? So the question is, how do you want to go about this? There are different ways of going about it, okay? You might even decide not to conduct any interview or any questionnaire or what have you. Just go and search. Use that thing, the Scopus thing, and other library, okay? Look for materials, even online, even Google Scholar, all right? Materials that already reference those keywords. SME, all right? Challenges, UK, Leicester. Are we together? All right? BIM, thank you. And you do what we call systematic literature review. Literature review. So all you need to do is pick all these papers, read them, look at where they reference problems, where they reference BIMs, what have they said about problems of SMEs, BIM in Leicester and in UK. Analyze them, put them in a structured format, and you are able to answer that question. But if you feel like survey is good, good. Get your survey in such a way that now this is where we see something we call variables, and constructs. Okay? Variable is like your construct, but it's really not. Okay? Your construct is the interpretation that people give to your variable. Does it make sense? So we talked about BIM, okay? We talked about challenges, for instance. So those challenges, people see different challenges, all right? So challenges can be a construct and a variable. But when you are creating your instrument, data collection instrument, okay, challenges assume the position of a construct because you are trying to extract what people think about that variable. But to them, it's like a construct. I don't know. Am I communicating? So the idea is that you need to give people, there's a lot about how you even create your instrument in a way that makes meaning, which I don't want to go deep into. So it's not that I just want to do research and then I have topic and then I just begin to write questionnaire. No. Your questionnaire must have a direct map to those variables and those constructs, and in a way that the people that will respond to them can make sense of it. All right? So this is more like just giving you a tip, and then you can go in details to find out how to go about it. If you are, I don't want to use the word lost. If you are, if you need help, I hope I'll be free. I can provide a bit of help, just to say, okay, this is what you should do or that's what you should do, to just give you a bit of a hint. Okay? Now, and then when you collect your data, the analysis too needs to reflect those questions. All right? So the idea is they need to answer those questions and you need to report them. So essentially what your report is doing is telling your story of how you move from 1 to, it's supposed to be 8. I think there's one more. Yes, to 8. That's all. Just tell your story of how you move. Okay? Because of our time, I don't want to dwell too much on this. So let me go to genetics for good research projects, okay? Which again, I've talked about. Be intentional about your project title, ensure matching variables, construct, literature, right? That's what I just did. So that's 1. 2, create a mental map of the journey. People start projects without creating a mental map of where they want to end. They just bring topic and create instruments and go to market. They just know they said we should do these steps. It doesn't work like that. So you create a mental map. If I do this, that. And imagination is powerful. So in doing that, you identify where those bottlenecks are and where those risks are. And that's why sometimes they won't ask you to do a proposal. The proposal is to force you to think. Okay? Then the next is about looking at a workable methodology. There are 101 ways to get to a destination. It doesn't have to be, you can have the same topic and use different methodology. That's the beauty. And your methodology doesn't have to be survey and questionnaire and interview. It can be very interesting. There are interesting ways of doing stuff that you even like it. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Say for instance, you want to talk about this problem, all right? This whole thing. And you just decide to say, okay, let me just look for 20 BIM that are doing business in Leicester. And then I'm just going to ask them to give me pictures that represent their problems. Just look for pictures wherever, maybe online, anywhere, that represent your problems, your business problems. Send it to me. Okay? And after you send it to me, then we can now talk. Then when you meet them with the picture, you just say, so what does this picture mean to you? What does this picture mean to you? What does this picture mean to you? Oh, is there any picture here? Is there any problem you have that you don't have the right picture to represent? You see, when you're doing that, when you're conducting research, there are ways that people just want to tell you what you want to hear. But when you use certain method, they will not even know when they drop that their guide. and then begin to tell you the real thing. So when you're asking somebody to tell you about their picture, suddenly they forget that you are doing interview, and then they just begin to pour out their mind. And then you can, some might even be observation. Just go and sit somewhere and be looking and be taking notes. That's all. So it doesn't have to be questionnaire and, okay, I don't want to dwell on that. Be clear about how you're going to analyze your data. Let it be clear. Let it be clear. Something came to mind, but I'm not going to talk about it. Use tools that makes process easier. There are tools that makes this data collection easier. There are tools that make citing and who knows about Mendeley? There are, you know how to use Mendeley? You know, they are easy. You just download them, referencing, you can change your reference style, you can see those things, and they are not very difficult. You can use paraphrasing too, but I say use it with sense. Don't depend only on it. So that they are going to put you into trouble. At least, as a rule of the thumb, read thrice as much as you are going to write. So if you are going to write 1 page, you must have read 3 pages, at least. Because if you are not, there's something that reading does to you. It expands your mind. So I see people say, oh, they give us assignment that we should write 1,000 words, and I just wrote 200 words, and I don't even know what to write anymore. I say, you've not read. If you've read, there will be more to write.
I said the problem should be cutting it down.
Thank you. The problem will be cutting it down. Okay? So, right, again, people want to have the perfect phonetics and what have you when they are writing, okay, the first time. So they can stay there and write the first line, and then backspace, backspace, and write again. Backspace, backspace, delete, and write again. No. Just write it the way it comes to you. Don't bother. Just write it. As the thing is coming to you, even if it comes in your dialect plus English, write it that way. Because that is how it's flowing. So what you do is go back there and then rephrase, because you need to capture that flow of reasoning at that time. If you don't, it will evaporate. It will go away. So please, do it. All right? So finally, we are getting to the close of this. What about your Viva? Okay, so what are the things that you need to note about Viva? Just a few tips, okay? Plan to spend just 10 to 15 minutes for your presentation. No story, no too much story, okay? And what are the things that you need to cover in your slides? What is the motivation for your project? What are the problems? What are the objectives? What are the questions? What are the methodology? Please, if you can, avoid literature review in your presentation. Nobody is really, I feel, interested in your literature review. They can go and read it. Okay? Data collection and description. Okay? How did you collect your data? What is the description of your data? How does it look like? Okay? Results or outcomes. Okay? Implication of results. Now, you cannot talk about the implication of results when you didn't reflect on the results. So reflecting on the results means thinking about the results and then looking at it from different perspectives. So what if this change? What will it mean to this? How do you know? Just reflecting on it. Okay? Within a context, then you change the context. What if this variable is not the same? What will it mean? And that is just what you write. Write it the way it comes to you. And then you can now relate it together with what you have read somewhere before. Okay? Lesson learned in future research. There is no way you do a research that will not learn something new. So what are the things that you've learned? And what you've learned, they are indicators, they are pointers to what you need to do in future. Okay? You can make a note on the slides, but it's not recommended that you read your slides. Some people, Sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Please don't read your slides. Even if you are going to read it, let it look professional. Okay? Huh? Yeah. And then ensure you tell a consistent story. Ensure you tell a consistent story. You know, I think that's about all. So do we have any question? I know that our food is getting...
I think what we'll do is, let's just have lunch.
Yeah.
And we'll just move to questions. We'll take about 20 minutes for academic questions. Then we'll just move to the last thing, because
yeah.
I want us to be there by 3. You guys came late, sorry.
So we can even still take 30 minutes that we started late from.
Yes. Just do that.
But that's fine, we can take permission. Do you want us to stay, to take our 30 minutes back? Or we should still go 3 o'clock? If you want, I mean, that's up to you. Eh? Yeah, do try. So let's have lunch.
Let's just, I would like us to get the slide. Yeah, you can
we get the slide?
We can get the slide.
Do you want to post? Will you post it on the group?
I'll put it on the group. I think I'll put it on the group.
Can I send my proposal to you?
I know. I'll put it on the website. Don't mind now. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.